Greetings everybody, it's Rob from the Sage Tower, and we are here with another Marvel Champions video. This time we will be going over the Gambit Hero Pack. Now I know, calm down, some of you may be wondering, but wait Rob, what about the other X-Men? What about Sinister Motives? There is plenty of stuff that I haven't actually reviewed and kind of posted my thoughts on that I kind of missed during the time that I was kind of busy and didn't have time to review the Marvel Champions stuff. That stuff will be coming. I will be doing it in a bit of a different format, only because some of that stuff, since it's been out for a few months now, it kind of, the way YouTube works and stuff, it defeats the purpose of making a review video for something that's been out for 5 months. It's not going to have the same impact as opposed to something that's coming out brand spanking new. So stay tuned, that stuff will be coming. As always, if you are interested, be sure to hit that follow button down below, and we are going to check that stuff out when it comes to this channel. Now, with that, let's hop into Gambit himself. As a reminder, Gambit is coming out in February in the US, as well as Rogue. Fantasy Flight is doing it in a way where both Gambit and Rogue coming out at the same time. They've been doing 2 heroes at the same month as kind of their new release schedule. So let's hop into Gambit. Starting with Remy LeBeau. 3 recovery, 9 hit points. He's a mutant and a thief. His ability is Thief Extraordinaire. Action, exhaust Remy LeBeau and look at the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Discard one of those cards. Remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of boost icons on that card. Now this is important. This is actually a really good card because it's an alter ego ability that removes threat. So you remove threat, you potentially remove a bad encounter card by discarding it. It doesn't say what you do with your other card, if you put it back on the deck or do you shuffle it back in. My guess, you might put it back on top, but we'll see if there's a ruling to clarify that. But overall, that's a really good ability for an alter ego one. Hopping over to his hero form, Gambit 1-2-3 stat line. I call it the Spider-Man stat line, the 1 throw, 2 attack, 3 defense. That's what that always reminds me of. He's got 2 abilities. One ability is to charge the card. Action, place 1 charge counter here, once per round. And his other ability is to throw the card. Interrupt. When you play an attack event, remove up to 3 charge counters from here. That event deals +1 damage for each counter removed. So for anybody who knows Gambit from the X-Men, his main ability is a deck of playing cards. He charges the card with his energy and then throws it and it explodes and does, damage, heavy explosions. It does work. Now, the way to do it here is that you place these counters on and then you can buff your attack events with this. That's actually a really interesting ability, and there's no limit to how many charge counters you can have on you, it seems, but you probably don't want to have too many sitting around because you probably want to use them to buff your cards and your other abilities. His first card is, of course, the signature ally, Rogue. Anna Marie herself. 4-cost ally, 2 throw, 2 attack, 3 health. Toughness, and reduce the cost to play Rogue by 1 for each charge counter on your identity. So she can be up to 1 cost, 0 cost, probably be around 2 or 3 in most cases, I feel like. And that's an okay value. She kind of reminds me of Winter Soldier from the Black Widow Hero Pack, where Winter Soldier was cheaper based on how many preparations you had out. Same thing, which also kind of goes in line with Gambit, because Gambit has alter ego ability, similar to kind of that helps him, similar to kind of how Black Widow has hers with the preparations. So, very similarities I can see between the two. The Thieves Guild, 1 cost support. Alter ego response, after you resolve your Thief Extraordinaire ability, exhaust the guild. Remove 1 threat from a scheme. If this removes the last threat from that scheme, draw 1 card. Now, this is a interesting card, and I feel like some of the supports for some characters aren't that great. This one, however, I feel like is actually a pretty solid one, especially combining with his ability. You're looking at potentially removing, you know, anywhere from 2 to 4 threat potentially, maybe 1 if you get unlucky, but like, you know, 2 to 4 threat in alter ego form is really good. So Gambit definitely, I feel like, has no problem flipping down. There are some heroes who don't want to flip down, they want to stay up pretty much all the time. Gambit has no problem with that. Gambit Staff, it's a 1-cost upgrade. Hero Interrupt, when the enemy attacks, exhaust the staff, deal 1 damage to the enemy. It's alright. My issue with this ability is there's a lot of tough minions, like big minions, coming out in the recent packs. 1 damage doesn't do that much. It does pop off tough. Now, what's interesting to note about this ability is it doesn't say when the enemy attacks you. So if you're playing multiplayer, you can use it on somebody else to either pop off a toughness or, you know, weaken them to get them into like a retaliate range. Even if they have 1 health left, pick them off. It has its uses. It's not blowing me away. But for 1 cost, it's 1 cost that, you know, that's not bad. It's just 1 damage ping that you can do when someone attacks you. Gambit's Guild Armor. His little like purple armor, I've had the colors on just for reference. After Gambit defends against an attack and takes no damage, exhausted, ready Gambit. That's good. It gives you, that's, I feel like this is probably better off than, say, the staff. Like if I had to choose between the armor or the staff to play first, I would probably play the armor. Especially with 3 defense, even if there's a minion, I can probably block the minion and ready myself. If I'm playing protection, I could even block the villain and ready myself with a defense card or and this card kind of deal. So this card, is, in my opinion, is much better than the staff. Here we go. Charged card. 2-cost event. Superpower. Keep in mind, I did do this on some of my videos. I don't believe those videos got published, but a lot of X-Men have superpower as a trait, which means Death Focus does apply to these cards. So with Death Focus, you can make this even cheaper. Keep that in mind for those of you who are playing. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. For this attack, if Gambit's throw the card ability removed at least, if it removed at least 1 counter, it gains range. 2 counters, range and piercing. 3 counters, range, piercing, overkill. So if it removes 3 counters, it does 7 damage, range, piercing, overkill. Now it does say also, which means I'm guessing it stacks that way. So 2 for 7 is the kind of the classic, like 2 for 7, 3 for 8 is kind of the like basic damage range for most cards. Given the fact that it has range, piercing, and overkill, makes it really powerful because it avoids retaliate, tough, and it can blow through minions. So this is probably going to be your bread and butter damage card. The next cost is Royal Flush. 3-cost event, also a superpower. Death Focus. Hero action. Place 1 charge counter on Gambit. Deal 0 damage to an enemy. Deal 0 damage to an enemy. Deal 0 damage to an enemy. Now, at first glance, this card looks strange. My guess is, because it's separate lines for each one, that if you burn the counter, each line does +1 damage. So if you just say you have no counters on you whatsoever, and you play this card, you place the charge counter on Gambit. I'm assuming you can then use it, because it's an interrupt, when you play the attack event. And then it does 1 damage to an enemy, 1 damage to an enemy, 1 damage to an enemy. You could pump it up to 3, and then does 3 damage to an enemy, 3, 3, and 3. Now, this is interesting because you have many ways you can do with this. You could do the 1 damage ping, for instance. Say there's like a few minions that have tough and like the villain has tough. You could just go ba 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 and knock all the toughs off. Or you could knock off tough with the first hit and then follow up with 2 stronger hits right afterwards. You do lose out on some damage, but that could be a way. So this is kind of your AoE blast attack. 3 cost is a little costly, but again, stupid power, that focus. Natural agility. 0 cost event. When you defend against an attack, place 1 charge counter on Gambit. That sounds good. For each charge counter on Gambit, you get +1 defense. Not bad. So combine this with the armor, you can dodge, 4, 5, 6 damage hits, no problem. And then ready yourself right after that. In theory, you don't have to block, but you kind of have to if you want to use your defense stat. The Creole Charmer himself. 2 cost event. Thwart an alter ego action. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. If this removes the last threat from that scheme, confuse the villain. Okay. So, what I'm seeing from this is that most of your thwarting stuff is done when you're in alter ego form. And your damage is done in your hero form, really. So, between this, your alter ego ability, and Thieves Guild, you have numerous ways to remove threat, confuse the villain, draw a card. That's a lot of resources you can do in the alter ego. That's really, really interesting. And then we have Molecular Acceleration. It's a 2 energy resource. When you spend this card, place 1 charge counter on Gambit. So gives you a counter, gives you a double, so you can spend it to play, Royal Flush or some of these other cards. The one thing I do like about this card that I feel like may go unnoticed at first glance is the physical energy. And the reason for this is a lot of times when you are playing as villains and they have attachments on them that require you to spend X amount of resources to get rid of them. In a lot of cases, it's different energy types. Now, if you have like a strength can cover one of them, it can't cover the second one. This one could potentially get rid of an attachment on its own, saving you having to spend 2 or 3 cards to do it. So Gambit comes with the justice aspect, no surprise there because of all the thwarting he can do. And we get Bishop. 2 thwart, 0 attack, double consequential. After an enemy attacks you, place 1 energy counter here. When Bishop attacks, remove each energy counter from him. For each counter discarded this way, he gets +2 attack for this attack, to a maximum of +6. So, Bishop is built to kind of hold Bishop back, take 2 or 3 attacks from the villain or the minions, and then he comes and swings back for that big 4-6 damage attack right back. In the right situations, that could be good. He's not blowing me away, but that's not a bad ability. Dazzler. 4 cost ally, Allison Blair, 2 threat, 2 attack, 3 health. After Dazzler enters play, confuse an enemy. That's okay. I mean, 4 cost is a bit expensive for what she does. Like, it's a good stat line, but overall, if she was a 3, I would have probably say okay card. 4, that's a bit expensive for what she is. Operative skill. 2 cost upgrade. Uses 3 operative counters. When you thwart, remove 1 operative counter from here. That thwart removes 1 additional threat. Okay. This is I could see this card having play. And the reason for this being, there are numerous times when you have like a threat removal card that the math just doesn't math. Like, oh, you have a card that removes 3 threat, but there's 4 threat on the scheme. So you have to like waste another card to get that last threat off. This gives you that extra bonus ability to get to pop that little one extra thwart off. On top of that, what this card does is it says when you thwart, so technically any of your thwarting abilities that you have, your alter ego ability, the Creole Charmer card, you could buff those up with this as well. So keep that in mind as a way to further build up your other cards in your deck. 2 costs, breaking and entering. Play only if it only has the spy or thief trait. Action, thwart, remove 3 threat from a scheme. Now, 2 for 3 is okay. Not bad. Obviously, like 2 for 4, like the 4 justice is kind of, you know, a big staple there. What makes this card interesting is if you're a spy or a thief, I believe in most cases, like that's a lot of time that probably has to do with alter egos. I don't know if Black Widow is a spy in her hero form or not. But basically, what this means is it's another card you can play an alter ego to remove more threat. Okay, so I mean, it could see some play. I can see it. With the right deck build, you could definitely use it, in my opinion. Passion for Justice. When you spend this card to play a thwart event, that event removes 1 additional threat. Same thing, it's a good wild card. They have their uses, maybe with all the different thwart cards you have. Might be worth it, but no, it's not the worst. Another copy of Professor X. I haven't talked about this card specifically. But for anybody who has been playing the X-Men, you know, cards since they've been coming out, I think people know the love for Professor X. He is pretty much the Cycle's Nick Fury. He does a lot of stuff. He's a really good card. He even goes in decks that don't actually have an X-Men main hero in them because of his ability to confuse the villain or stun a minion. So being able to confuse the villain, thwart for 3, and then block is really valuable. So he is a solid basic ally. X-Mansion, this card has been kind of talked about as well. There's a few copies of it throughout the X-Men pack. And it's kind of the Avengers Mansion, so to speak. You exhaust X-Mansion and alter ego. Heal 1 damage from a mutant or X-Men character. Any player whose alter ego has a mutant trait may trigger this. So it doesn't have to be the person who plays it. Anybody can actually use it to heal themselves. So this is an okay card. It kind of heals you a little bit as you are playing. Beauty and the Thief. Team up cost, Gambit and Rogue. 2 cost event, deal 4 damage to an enemy, remove 4 threat from a scheme. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the better team up cards like in the game. Like no joke, like just flat out. 2 cost to do 4 damage and 4 threat. I mean, why wouldn't you? I would even play that Rogue Ally if you mean I could get this card off. It's that good. The opposite is this card. 3 cost event. Deal 2 damage to an enemy, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Like this is the opposite. 2 for 4 and 4, so 2 for 8 versus 3 for 4. Like, I'm not playing this card. I'm sorry. Not sorry. It's not a good card. Like, if you have to play it, like if you're having some weird special deck building rules that force you to play with this card, but pass. Hard pass. Mutant Education. What is going on in this picture? Can we talk about this picture right now? What in the world is that skeleton in the goo? What is that? If anybody knows who that's an actual character from the X-Men comics, please let me know down in the comments. Because I want to know who that is. That is really weird. If it is somebody. Anyway. 0 cost event, Mutant Education. Play only if it only has the mutant trait. Choose up to 7. So 7, wow. Choose up to 2 identity specific cards in your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck. If the X Mansion is in play, draw 1 card. Alright, so let you get 2 cards back into your deck and potentially draw a card if you have the mansion out. So gives you some synergy with the mansion. Not a bad card. That's not a bad card. Don't wonder who that guy is. Just saying. Energy cost, of course, the classic energy, genius, strength. All of them, that's the classic ones. We all know those. So, and those are the justice cards that come in his deck. But we are not done just yet. Nope, not done. Now we have the obligation. Guild business. Alter ego action. Exhaust Red Miller Bow and spend an energy resource. Remove guild business from the game. Give to the Red Miller Blow player. Okay, so this card just forces you to flip down and exhaust, spend a resource. Otherwise, it's an additional counter card every time. So, you want to get rid of it desperately. But I feel like with all his alter ego stuff, that won't be as much of an issue, I feel like. So, not the worst. I mean, the bonus card is definitely not great, but it doesn't like handicap you like some of them do. Like some of them, like I think Shadowcat's one just completely shut her down. She can't phase and stuff like that. Like Spectrum's one, you know, those that stop you from actually using your abilities. Those are issues. This one doesn't. Belladonna. Can I say Belladonna looks... Why does she look like Dr. Doom? Is she related to Dr. Doom? Well, she looks like Dr. Doom. She has the cloak, the hand, the energy ball. You know, Belladonna Vent Doom, is that a thing? I don't know. Could be. 2 scheme, 3 attack, 5 health, quick strike, toughness. After Belladonna attacks and defeats a character, place 2 threat on the main scheme. It's okay. It's a pretty beefy, like... That's a pretty beefy, especially with the toughness and quick strike. I can see her being a bit of a threat. If you're not careful, especially with that quick strike, she can definitely surprise you. The Assassin's Guild. After an assassin minion attacks and defeats a character, place 2 threat here. So, this card definitely makes her look like Dr. Doom. Let's call it what it is. And this card works with the Belladonna card itself because essentially she defeats a character, place 2 threat on the main scheme, plus place 2 threat on here. So you don't want Belladonna defeating any of your allies and the like. So be careful about that. Guild Assassin. 1 minion, 2 attack, 2 health, quick strike. After Guild Assassin attacks and defeats a character, place 1 threat on the main scheme. I think I see a trend here. We're going to have assassins that are going to quick strike, try and defeat you or your allies, placing threat on the main scheme, on the side scheme, as they defeat your allies. So, Assassination Attempt. Treachery card. When revealed, each assassin minion attacks you, even if you are in alter ego form. If there are no assassin minions in play, select the encounter deck and discard pile for an assassin minion and reveal it, which will then quick strike you. Now, I think if you're in alter ego form and there's no minions out, you search and you pull one out, the quick strike I don't think triggers because that sentence that says attacks you has already passed. So that minion won't attack you in alter ego form. But this card combined with all the assassins in the Nemesis pack definitely make you have to be careful about taking 2 or 3 damage off the top of the deck randomly. So gotta be careful for that. As always, we have additional cards that are kind of in the back of the pack. The War Room. It's a 1-cost support. Max 1 per player. After an ally attacks and defeats a minion, exhaust the War Room to remove 1 threat from scheme. It's not bad. I mean, That's after an ally attacks. I didn't see that part. Okay. You can make specific niche like aggression decks. You know, like if you have a Guardian ally with an energy spear, and he's just going on, just slamming the energy spear down and destroying minions and stuff. I could see it. Very niche card though. Very niche. X-Men Instruction. So this is almost identical to Mutant Education. The difference here is that you choose 2 X-Men allies and put them into your deck as opposed to identity-specific cards. Same thing about the X-Mansion. This just lets you draw allies back into your deck. Not bad. I could see this if you're playing like a X-Men leadership deck and you want to get some X-Men allies back in. Definitely useful in that regard. As always, for those of you that are not aware, the hero packs now have an additional encounter set at the end of each of them. I'm just giving a bit more spice to it. And this one is the Exodus. 1 scheme, 1 attack, 6 health. Acolyte Elite Psionic. Retaliate 1, Villainous. When revealed, select the encounter deck and discard power for the Psionic Shield attachment and attach it to Exodus. Now he says in the name of Magneto, so he sounds like he's like a Magneto stand basically, but it's a pretty beefy minion. The scheme is the Herald of Avalon. So as I say, Exodus sees Magneto as the savior of mutant kind and serves as his herald. So 6 cost, so 6 threat, extra encounter card, and when the player who defeats the scheme searches the encounter deck and discard pile for Exodus and reveals him. So that means Exodus will come out when you defeat this scheme. Alright, can be a bit of an annoying threat there, definitely. And of course, Psionic Shield. This is the card that auto attaches to Exodus when he comes out. At the +1/+1, when attached minion would leave play, instead heal all damage from that minion and put it back into play. Then discard this attachment. So basically, that means Exodus will have 12 health. She's a 6 health minion that you gotta defeat. Alright, yeah, he's definitely become a bit more of a threat in that case, definitely. That's a heavy hitter there. And there's 2 copies of that. The last one is Acolyte's Frenzy. When revealed, each Acolyte minion engaged with you activates against you. If you are not engaged with an Acolyte minion, this card gains Surge. So it will activate Exodus if he is in the area. That's it. So those are the last cards for the Exodus Encounter Pack. Alright, so with that, what do we think about Gambit? Now, I kind of like Gambit. I think he's like the X-Men's version of Black Widow with his deck. There's a lot of good stuff there. It's not mind-blowingly overpowered. Like nothing screams broken off the bat. But he definitely has play. I think he may struggle a bit in solo, perhaps. Depends on how it plays out. But in like a 2 or 3 player game, I think Gambit can do quite a lot of work. Combined with his damage, his threat removal, I think he definitely is a serious threat in that regard. His stat line makes him want to lend towards really aggression, protection type cards. I always feel like, and this is my similar gripe I had playing Spider-Man, at the beginning of Marvel Champions, was you play Spider-Man in like protection or something, you quickly realize the Spider-Man doesn't have many thwart cards of his own. I think he has like Spider Tracer and that's it. And then one thwart just doesn't cut it for you. Now, Gambit has a more threat removals in his initial signature pack, which helps him out quite a bit. So you probably will be doing a lot of, if you're not playing Justice, you're probably going to flip down a lot to remove threat removal, recover, heal, and then flip back up, build those counters, and just deal that damage that way. So he seems like a lot of fun. I always liked Gambit. Gambit was one of my favorite X-Men characters. I mean, who doesn't like the Creole trauma, as they say? The Louisiana lover boy himself. So definitely is a major cool cast to have. And I'm excited to actually get my hands on him and actually try him out and see how he plays in various encounters. So what are your guys' thoughts on Gambit? Do you think he's really good? Do you think he might kind of fall below the pack? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you guys for watching these Marvel Champions videos. I appreciate it greatly, and I hope to see you on my next Marvel Champions video.